Here's one of our favorite clips from Neighborly Discourse with Billy and Steve.
My counter argument. I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah.
We live in a digital age right now, right? And we live in a place where people don't talk face to face like you and I are talking.
Yeah.
The way they talk, the way they communicate is through these devices.
Yeah.
So now the actual marketplace, the place where conversations are had and ideas are exchanged, are now on digital platforms. So I say that to say that there is because the environment has changed, the rules need to change now. So I'll drop that down and give you a chance to respond because I got another response.
I don't think that's the case.
You don't think it's the case?
No.
Okay, so
it doesn't benefit you and I, our mindset, but it's their business. It does not. They have the right to run it the way they want to run it. The problem is they're running it, in our opinion, incorrectly. But it's their business.
Okay, so it doesn't matter the amount of influence that they have, right? So I just want to make it clear.
No, because that falls
most
back on
people,
me.
there's a number, I can't remember the percentage, but there's a high percentage. I'm talking about, I believe it's more than 50%, right?
Yeah.
That says their main source of information for news is Facebook.
That's not Facebook's problem. That's their problem.
But, okay, you say it's not their problem in the sense that if people just gravitate
Are you
naturally.
asking me, should they take responsibility for knowing the amount of influence they have? My answer would be yes. Are they required to? No. It's up to me. If I know, Steve, I know they're lying to me.
So here's my question.
No, listen to me.
Okay.
I know they're lying. I know they're censoring. They're withholding information. It's up to me to say, you know what, I can't trust them and go elsewhere.
Who gets to decide that?
I do.
No, I'm saying who gets to decide whether they have the right to do that?
They do. They're whoever runs their company.
But ultimately, in our system, in our democracy,
Yeah.
who ultimately gets, like, if I think, like, so we have a disagreement, right?
Yes.
You're Facebook and I'm the opposition,
Yeah.
and I have a problem with what you're doing. Who ultimately gets to decide who's right on this argument?
I don't know.
Court of law.
Okay.
Ultimately, because I can say I'm going to sue you because I think that how you're doing this is wrong.
Okay.
And I want to take this to a judge and a jury of my peers to
Yeah.
be able to prove this out, right?
Yeah.
That's how we settle things in this country. But guess what? The Facebooks and the Twitters of the world, we cannot sue. We cannot bring this to a court of law
Yeah.
to say, hey, listen.
That's a problem.
And
They're taking advantage of a loophole, and Trump is when he was trying to correct that. Another reason why they're trying so desperately to keep him out, because he will stop that from happening. He will make them have to either be, was it a platform versus an editor or something along those lines?
Something,
whatever
something like
they're
that.
using and
Right.
doing the opposite, he's going to hold them accountable. So they're going to have to make a decision. And if it's an open platform, anything goes. If they're editing, then they're going to be charged an editing thing and be held with those rules. That's another reason why they cannot have him in. He will stop their nonsense.
Well, so my point is, even if what you're saying is right, that they should have the right to be able to do what they're doing right now,
Yeah.
censoring information. Even if you think that's true, I think ultimately a judge and a jury should be able to decide that.
I agree.
And because we can't decide it, then my open war against this censorship still stands.
No, I agree. I'm with you.
They should not be able to do this because, look, remember how we said that we don't always agree with everything the Republicans say?
Yeah.
And we don't always agree with the left is saying, right? Saying there's got to be somewhere in there's some kind of balance, right?
Yes.
Here's one of those balances where if we don't recognize the threat of this, if we just stand on the side of, well, they're a company and they should be able to do whatever they want to do, right? Even though, think about it, it turned an election. A whole election changed. I'm not even talking about the media, how complicit they were, right? I'm just talking about these platforms turned an election.
Listen, man, I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, what I'm saying to you is that there has to be, because one of the things MBF was saying is that, look, I don't want the Nazism spirit to revitalize. So I don't want.
Well, they're on their way.
Well, I'm talking about, just say locally in America, right? In our country.
That's what I mean. This is the first step to it. Like he doesn't want it, but he's part of it. This is what they're going to get to. If they get step one, then they're going to go to step two.
So that was interesting because he didn't see that. It's so funny that you saw it that quickly because he didn't see it. Because he brought up Nazism and said, "Listen, he used our argument against me, saying like, do you think Nazism came out of nowhere? How did it start? Right?
How could he say that knowing what's going on around
Hold
him
on a second. Hold on.
and being okay with it?"
So,
I'm sorry, bro. Go. I'm listening.
I wish I had a blood pressure coupling a couple of around you so I can see your numbers to see like do you spike when those things happen. But anyway, he used that argument against me, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking about how it's because of free speech. This is the argument he was making. Because of free speech, Nazism was able to not coalesce, but come together, coalesce. They were able to coalesce and form this group, in this movement that became what we know as Nazi, taking over the country,
right.
so on and so forth. And I was like, but hold on. If we had policies in place like we do here, where we say like you can't talk about hurting other people, because that's basically our free speech stops when it starts talking about hurting other people. If we had that, if they had the policy in place, well, hold on a second, you're talking about hurting other people, we need to shut you down. If that was around, we would have never gotten to a place. Because look where they went.
That's called conspiracy.
They took their free speech to the point where they started suppressing free speech.
Yeah,
that's what they did. They had free speech up until the point where it's like, okay, now we have all the power. Now we're going to suppress our free speech. That's what we got to work against. That's what we got to work against. Is putting things out there, so making sure that no one can suppress free speech. Because if anybody can suppress free speech, that means that you have the power.
Yeah.
And we're a state of elected officials. Unelected people cannot tell us what we can and cannot say, and that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.